When you move past your mid-60s and start noticing your body changing in ways you did not expect, you are not imagining it. Maybe your energy dips faster, your joints ache more, or the number on the scale creeps up even though you have not changed much. What almost no one tells you is that one habit might be pushing your body toward inflammation, weight gain, and faster aging, or protecting you from all three. I am talking about the nuts you reach for as a healthy snack. Some of them act like medicine for brains, bones, and hearts at your age. Others behave more like slow poisons. Today, I am going to reveal 4 nuts your body needs every day, and 4 you should stop eating immediately. Growing older does not mean your body becomes fragile overnight. What actually changes is how your system handles stress, food, and inflammation. After 65, your hormones shift, your digestion slows, and your cells become more sensitive to damage from sugar, processed oils, and chronic inflammation. That is why the same snacks you ate in your 40s can quietly work against you now. Nuts sit right at the crossroads of this change. They are tiny but incredibly dense packages of calories, fats, protein, fiber, and micronutrients. For a younger body that burns fuel quickly, the difference between good and bad nuts might not show up for years. For a senior body, the difference can show up as aching joints, stubborn weight around the middle, brain fog, or surprisingly steady energy. The right nuts do 3 critical things for people over 65. First, they provide anti-inflammatory fats that calm the constant background fire linked to arthritis, heart disease, and cognitive decline. Second, they deliver minerals and vitamins that support bones, nerves, and blood vessels exactly when those systems are becoming more vulnerable. Third, they keep your blood sugar steady, helping you avoid the exhausting roller coaster of spikes and crashes that make you crave sweets and afternoon naps. The wrong nuts do the exact opposite. They are roasted in unstable seed oils, drenched in salt or sugar, and sometimes contaminated with compounds your liver struggles to filter. Instead of calming inflammation, they fuel it. Instead of stabilizing your blood sugar, they spike it. Instead of supporting a healthy weight, they sneak in hundreds of empty calories you barely notice. What makes this even trickier is that food labels and marketing rarely make the distinction clear. A bag that says heart-healthy nuts might be full of sodium and added sugar. A trail mix that promises energy and fiber might deliver more dessert than nutrition. So in this new approach, I want you to stop thinking of nuts as one big healthy category. From now on, see them as 2 very different teams. One team protects your heart, brain, bones, and joints. The other quietly chips away at them. In the next sections, we will build your daily must-eat team first, and then expose the 4 types of nuts that simply are not worth the risk after 65. Many seniors tell me, "It is just a small handful. It cannot matter that much." But that small handful often shows up 2 or 3 times a day, while watching television, driving, or standing in the kitchen. Over weeks and months, that becomes thousands of extra calories and a constant trickle of ingredients that either heal or harm. When you are over 65, you simply do not have calories to waste. Every bite has to work for you, not against you. That is why being deliberate about nuts is one of the simplest, most powerful shifts you can make for your long-term health. Let us start by building your daily defenders. The nuts that actively support an older body instead of draining it. At the top of that list are walnuts and almonds, 2 simple foods that can make a profound difference in how you think, move, and age. Walnuts are sometimes called brain food because their shape resembles a tiny brain, but the similarity goes much deeper than appearance. They are one of the richest plant sources of omega-3 fats, especially a type called ALA. These fats help keep your blood less sticky, your blood vessels more flexible, and your brain cells better protected from the microscopic damage that accumulates over time. For someone over 65, that means fewer inflammatory sparks attacking your joints and a more nourished brain with each passing year. A small daily portion, about 7 walnut halves, is enough to begin shifting your internal chemistry. Studies have linked regular walnut intake with improved memory scores, better cholesterol profiles, and lower inflammatory markers. Many seniors also notice something simpler, but just as important. They feel more satisfied after meals. The combination of healthy fat, protein, and fiber keeps hunger quiet for hours, which can make it much easier to avoid late-night snacking. Almonds bring a different but equally critical set of benefits. While walnuts focus heavily on your brain and blood vessels, almonds are like building blocks for your bones and muscles. They supply calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus, the mineral trio your skeleton depends on to stay dense and resilient. After 65, bone loss speeds up just as your risk of falls rises. That is not a combination you want to ignore. Adding a 1-ounce handful of almonds daily gives your body materials for stronger bones and smoother muscle contractions. The vitamin E in almonds also acts as a shield for your cells, protecting them from oxidative stress that accelerates aging. Many older adults struggle with dry skin, fragile nails, and a general sense that their body is wearing thin. The antioxidant and mineral support from almonds directly counters that wear and tear. One simple way to weave these two nuts into your routine is to assign them a specific time and role. Walnuts can anchor your morning, sprinkled over oatmeal, yogurt, or chopped into a fruit bowl. Almonds can become your stable mid-afternoon snack, replacing crackers or cookies. Over time, these tiny anchors create a new baseline: steadier energy, calmer joints, and a brain that feels more alert instead of foggy by evening. Next on your daily defender list are pistachios and Brazil nuts. Two very different nuts that work together in surprising ways for hearts, eyes, and hormones over 65. Pistachios are sometimes overlooked because they are small, but do not let their size fool you. Each shell you crack open delivers a combination of protein, healthy fat, and fiber that directly supports your circulation. One of their secret weapons is an amino acid called arginine. Your body uses arginine to produce nitric oxide, a gas that tells blood vessels to relax and open. When blood vessels can widen easily, your heart does not have to push as hard, and more oxygen-rich blood reaches your muscles and brain. For seniors who notice cold hands and feet, slower walking speed, or shortness of breath with light activity, this improved circulation can be a game changer. Regular pistachio eaters in clinical studies often show lower blood pressure, better good HDL cholesterol, and a drop in bad LDL cholesterol. On top of that, pistachios are rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, pigments that serve as internal sunglasses for your eyes. They gather in the retina and help protect against age-related macular degeneration, a leading cause of vision loss later in life. Vision, circulation, and energy all intersect in one simple habit: a small handful of pistachios as part of a balanced meal or snack, not something you graze on mindlessly. When you eat them slowly, you allow time for fullness signals to reach your brain, which can naturally reduce overeating throughout the day. Brazil nuts play a more concentrated, almost medicinal role. You do not need many. In fact, you must be careful not to eat too many. Just 1 or 2 Brazil nuts provide all the selenium most older adults need for an entire day. Selenium is a trace mineral, but its impact is anything but small. It is required for optimal thyroid function, for repairing damaged cells, and for the production of powerful antioxidant enzymes inside your body. Your thyroid is like your metabolic thermostat. When it runs too low, you feel colder, more sluggish, and more prone to weight gain and low mood. Selenium helps keep that thermostat calibrated, which is especially important for seniors whose thyroid activity naturally slows. It also supports your immune system, making it easier to fight off infections and recover from stress. Because selenium is so concentrated in Brazil nuts, portion control becomes part of the prescription. Think of them more like a daily supplement than a snack. Place 1 or 2 on a small plate next to your cup of tea or coffee in the late morning or afternoon. Eat them with intention, knowing you are supplying a mineral many older adults are missing entirely. Together, pistachios and Brazil nuts round out your core 4. Walnuts and almonds focus on brain, bones, and basic inflammation control. Pistachios and Brazil nuts extend the protection to circulation, vision, thyroid health, and immune function. When these 4 show up in measured amounts most days of the week, your body has a far stronger foundation than any multivitamin alone can provide. Now that you know which nuts belong in your daily routine, we need to talk honestly about the ones that do not. This is where many well-meaning older adults get tripped up. They buy a big container of mixed nuts, assume everything inside is healthy, and never realize that 2 or 3 ingredients are quietly working against their joints, heart, and blood sugar. The first troublemaker is not the peanut itself, but the way it is usually prepared. Plain, dry, roasted peanuts in small amounts are not dangerous for most people. But that is not what you find in most jars and snack bowls. Instead, you get heavily salted, oil-roasted peanuts that have been processed at high heat, coated in cheap seed oils, and stored for long periods. High-heat processing can generate compounds that promote inflammation, and the added oils are often already oxidized before they reach your pantry. Then comes the salt. After 65, your kidneys are far less forgiving of sodium overload. A few generous handfuls of salted peanuts can easily push your daily sodium intake into a range that raises blood pressure, worsens fluid retention in the legs, and increases strain on your heart. You might blame your swollen ankles or pounding head on the weather, when in reality, your snack bowl is part of the problem. To make matters worse, peanuts are more susceptible to mold toxins than tree nuts. When stored in warm, humid conditions, they can harbor substances your liver has to work overtime to clear. Regulations reduce this risk, but they cannot remove it completely. And a senior liver does not clean house as efficiently as it once did. Cashews cause a different kind of trouble. They wear a healthy halo in many trail mixes and nut blends, but their nutrition profile is not ideal for most seniors. Cashews contain more carbohydrates than many other nuts, and they are often eaten by the handful. If your cells are already less sensitive to insulin, which is extremely common after 65, those carbs can spike your blood sugar and then crash it, leaving you tired, hungry, and craving more. Most cashews on grocery shelves are also lightly salted and roasted in added oils. That means you are getting an inflammation-promoting fat, extra sodium, and a blood sugar spike all in the same handful. For someone dealing with prediabetes, diabetes, or stubborn belly fat, that combination is the opposite of what you want. If you truly love peanuts or cashews, the safest choice is to treat them like an occasional condiment, not a daily staple, and to buy them plain, unsalted, and in small amounts. But for most older adults, there are better options. Your everyday nuts should make your body's job easier, not harder. The next two nuts on the better to avoid list are not dangerous because of toxins or sodium, but because of how easily they can derail your weight, joints, and blood vessels when you are no longer burning calories like you did at 40. Macadamia nuts sound luxurious, and in some ways they are. They contain mostly monounsaturated fats, the same general category praised in olive oil. The problem is density. Just a small handful delivers 200 calories or more. The texture is so buttery that they practically dissolve in your mouth, which makes it incredibly easy to overeat without feeling full. For a body over 65, where metabolism has naturally slowed, those invisible calories tend to land in the midsection, hips, and liver. Extra weight does not just change how your clothes fit. Every added pound translates into several pounds of additional force on your knees and hips with each step. Over months and years, that extra load accelerates joint wear, increases pain, and makes staying active more difficult, which then slows your metabolism further. It is a vicious circle, and calorie-dense nuts like macadamias can quietly keep it turning. The final category to be wary of is any nut that comes pre-coated in sugar, honey, syrup, or candy like glazes. Honey-roasted peanuts, candied pecans, caramel-coated almonds, they all belong in the dessert category, not the health category. The nuts inside might have been healthy once, but by the time they are covered in sugar and heated, they behave more like candy than nutrition. Added sugar does two things that are especially problematic after 65. First, it spikes your blood glucose and insulin. Frequent spikes damage blood vessels, feed belly fat, and disrupt hormones that control hunger and satiety. Second, sugar attaches to proteins in your body in a process called glycation, creating stiff, damaging compounds that age your skin, arteries, and joints from the inside out. When you combine sugar with roasted fats, you also create advanced glycation end products, the same aging accelerators that show up in processed meats and fast food. Your body can handle a little of this occasionally, but not as a regular healthy snack. If you enjoy a sweet crunch, there are better ways to get it. You can add a few plain nuts to a bowl of fresh fruit, or drizzle a tiny amount of honey over Greek yogurt topped with walnuts. The goal is to let whole foods provide the sweetness, while nuts bring their natural fats and minerals, not to turn nuts themselves into candy. Once you see macadamias and sugary nut mixes clearly, it becomes much easier to leave them on the shelf and reserve your daily nut budget for the 4 that actually move your health in the right direction. Now let us turn this from information into a daily rhythm you can actually live with. Knowing which nuts help and which hurt is powerful, but real change happens when those choices show up automatically in your kitchen, your routine, and your grocery cart. Start by deciding on your personal nut allowance for the day. For most people over 65, 1 to 2 ounces total is enough to gain benefits without overloading calories. That might look like 7 walnut halves in the morning, a small handful of almonds or pistachios in the afternoon, and 1 or 2 Brazil nuts at some point in the day. If you have a smaller appetite or are actively trying to lose weight, aim toward the lower end of that range. Next, remove as much friction as possible from the good habits and add friction to the bad ones. Instead of keeping a huge container of mixed nuts or salted peanuts on the counter, portion your chosen nuts into small jars or snack bags that each hold a single serving. Store the avoid nuts, if you still have them in the house, out of sight, or do not buy them again once they are gone. What you see most often is what you will reach for. Tie your nut choices to existing anchors in your day. For example, you might decide that every time you brew your morning coffee or tea, you will also prepare a small bowl with walnuts and a spoonful of Greek yogurt. Around mid-afternoon, when energy naturally dips, you might pair almonds or pistachios with a piece of fruit instead of cookies or crackers. In the early evening, when many people wander into the kitchen out of habit, you might sit down with 1 Brazil nut and a cup of herbal tea rather than a full snack. Pay attention to what your body tells you over the next few weeks. Many seniors notice that with the right nuts in the right amounts, their digestion becomes more regular, their energy feels more stable, and their joints are less puffy or stiff in the morning. You might also see changes on your lab tests, friendlier cholesterol numbers, better blood pressure readings, or a gradual shift in weight. Of course, nuts are only one piece of the healthy aging puzzle. Their benefits multiply when you combine them with daily movement, plenty of colorful vegetables, good hydration, and adequate sleep. A short walk after meals helps your body use the healthy fats and protein more efficiently. Drinking water throughout the day supports your kidneys and circulation. Prioritizing sleep allows your body to repair the microscopic damage that accumulates each day. It is also important to listen for any warning signs. If you have a history of nut allergies, digestive disorders, kidney disease, or are on very specific medications, check with your healthcare provider before making major changes. Remember, the goal is not to force a perfect diet overnight, but to upgrade one small decision at a time in a way that fits your real life. Think of this as giving your future self a gift. The nuts you choose this week may influence how easily you get out of a chair 6 months from now, how sharp your thinking feels next year, and how confidently you move through your 70s and beyond. Tiny changes, repeated calmly and consistently, add up to a very different aging experience, one where strength, clarity, and independence stay with you far longer than most people believe possible. If you like tracking progress, keep a simple notebook where you jot down how you slept, how your joints feel in the morning, and how steady your energy was that day. Look back after 4 or 6 weeks. Those quiet improvements are easy to miss in the moment, but they are the clearest proof that your new nut routine is working for you, not against you. If this conversation opened your eyes to how something as small as a handful of nuts can shape your future health, do not let it end here. Your brain, your heart, your joints, and your energy all respond to the choices you make this week, not someday later. Start by making one simple swap today. Trade the sugary, salted mixes for a measured serving of walnuts, almonds, pistachios, and 1 or 2 Brazil nuts. Then watch how your body responds over the next month. If you want clear, science-based guidance made specifically for people over 60, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new lesson. And before you go, tell me in the comments which nut change you are going to make first. Your story might be exactly what another senior needs to finally take their health seriously. I read every comment and care.